We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy. What is up? What is good? How is everyone doing? Episode 410 of The Past is here. I am your host, BT, with yet another episode. And boy, let me tell you something. It's always when you think you can't that you somehow can. And can, will, do, must has been the theme and the phrase of the show and of the flow. I'm here to tell y'all, and I'm here to emphasize, life is going to do what life going to do. But you sometimes have to take your time and really piece things together. And that's what, as I'm getting older, as I'm getting wiser, as I'm continuing to strive for greatness and excellence, I'm beginning to see that and learn that more and more, not just about myself, but about those around me. I'm going to share a message, an early message, but before I share the message, I'm going to be a little unorthodox, as I always am. Right before I did the show, and I looked at the microphone as soon as I did it, and it didn't need to be something that needed to be shared, but it was thought about afterward. I said a prayer, and I'm sending this as a prayer to anyone who's listening to the show, to just say, if you're in a hurting space, you're in a healing space, if you're in a processing space, I pray over you today. And I've really, as the world brings things forward, you sometimes learn like you got to sit back, see things through, and let the music play. And that's what I'm beginning to absorb and learn more and more through my journey of life. Before I even came in to do the show, a friend of mine, he sent me a link for a video on Facebook. And I was like, do I want to look at it now? Do I want to wait? Not sure how I feel about it, but let me check it out now. So fast forward, I look at the video. I won't give the full detail, but I'll give like kind of the main gist of it. And I'll see if I'll possibly share it on my timeline on Facebook. So any of you who follow my personal Facebook page, definitely welcome to check it out. But the guy was asked a question by his friend, and basically the question asked, which would you rather have, 100% of a grape or 20% of a watermelon? I don't want to give the rest of the story to that away, but I want you to think about that as we go through our show today. As you all see or will be aware, we are doing the bi-weekly shows, which means the shows will definitely have the stronger hit to them have quite a bit to address, quite a bit to discuss. But as the old saying goes, no message left behind. So we're going to roll with the conversations, and hopefully you all are able to enjoy the content we have on store for you all today. Because listen to me. It's interesting when stories come awry and you look at them and you're like, oh, okay. As you all have been noticing, I've been away. In the nicest way possible, I've kind of done like a let's not talk sports as much. And then the playoffs happen, and then the finals happen, and then the finals ended, which we're going to get to the finals in a bit. But during the lead-in towards the finals, as well as just basketball talk in general, a big name was being put on the forefront as a possible coaching candidate. His name is JJ Reddick. Now, I have the story. If you want to read the article, you're welcome to read the article specifically about this. I'm going to talk about this from as many angles as possible to kind of make you get a clear understanding of what's what with the Reddick story. So first and foremost, if you go back, once the Lakers were eliminated from the playoffs, and by the way, I always talk about this, it's very interesting when coaches are relieved of their duties, or when they're terminated, or they'll find ways to like specify how to say that a coach has been let go as the head coach of the team. Darvin Ham was not a good coach for the Lakers, but he also wasn't a bad coach for the Lakers. He had previous assistant coach experience with other teams, but it really hasn't been him being put in a head coaching position to understand not only how to handle the team, how to handle media, but handle the game as a whole. He doesn't have this flashy, exciting resume when it comes to being a coach, but he has been overall, it's kind of the age-old phrase of like, hey, he's a decent person, so let's give him a chance. So when they let him go, it then became, okay, we got to find a replacement. A few weeks before the finals, interestingly enough, the UConn Huskies won the national championship, which happens to be a back-to-back celebration for that. They had won last year, and they won again this year. Their head coach, Dan Hurley, was a name that came up of a possible coach interest for the job. Hurley was talked about. He interviewed. I'm not sure if I'm not even really 100% sure if he interviewed or not, but I know they made an offer to him of a pretty substantial amount to leave UConn. He opted to stay at UConn, and that was kind of the end of that conversation, because he's looking to, as it's heard a lot of times, he's looking to spin the block. He's going to try to possibly see if he can get a three-peat or get UConn to a good run in the tournament. Totally have no problem with that. Over a month or so ago, I would say late April, maybe early May, a podcast came out that was collaborated between JJ Reddick and LeBron James. I know I'm slow rolling this, but to all of my non-sports folks, I know I'm eight or 9 minutes in if you add the the intro. I'm going to give you probably about 20, maybe 30 minutes, not even that long to come back in. Might be 40 because I'm going to talk about the finals as well. But this is going to be kind of like that basketball rant. So I just want to give you all that disclaimer before I go in depth. But JJ Reddick, LeBron James, they do a podcast. And before I talk out of turn, out of context, I want to be sure that I give this titling of this show the proper name, because it was definitely a show that caught my attention. They're not going to give it to me, are they? So the show was called Mind the Game. And I'm wrong. It started back in March. And it was LeBron James and JJ Reddick talking basketball. And the show started in March. I want you to piece this all together. The show is picking up steam. They did like a trailer. They kind of did a preview with them sitting down. Their format had me in a chokehold only because when I looked at the show, it's like they're sitting here, they're talking. You can't see their microphones. They're not wearing microphones like the lavaliers that most people wear. I don't see any boom mics overhead. I'm like, they're doing a camo mic. Fine, cool, whatever. But I was pulled into, I looked at about maybe 4 or 5 episodes because as someone who's played basketball, as someone who is somewhat a student of the game and still kind of a teacher of the game when I watch it at a high level, when I watch younger kids play or try to play, it's a great sight when you're seeing a player who's played in the league getting ready to go into his 22nd season and he can decipher basketball at this level. And, they're sitting there, they're going into different topics, they're going into different discussions. Playoffs start, they do a few shows. When LA was eliminated, the shows kind of picked up a little bit more. They really were getting into it. So y'all know how I am, because I like to make sure I give you the best rundown without making the rundown too obvious. So remember, like I said, the show started, they did a trailer. Their trailer was on March 18th. They did a show on the 19th, March 27th, April 3rd, April 10th, April 17th, May 1st, May 18th. Of course, now we're in playoffs. They come back and do a show on May 22nd, and they do one on June 5th for the finals. When the finals started, podcast stops. For good reason, of course, because JJ Reddick is part of the ESPN crew that's doing the finals games. Again, I'm going to talk about the finals on a separate topic, but I want to get into this to give you to give you that picture paint of where things were to lead up to this happening. So Reddick's going through, the games. They do game 1. There's the big announcement where Doris Burke is the first female color commentator or commentator or whatever to do a basketball game, to do a professional game at any level, like base or in any sport. And when I say any sport, we're talking hockey, baseball, football, soccer, basketball. Because soccer, the other young lady, they do like pregame. But as far as the actual match, Doris was handling it, and she did a good job. I think it was either game 3 or game 4. They asked Reddick, or they're trying to get conversation from him about, what's going on with the Lakers job. I know you applied or you were interested in it. He did an interview. What's the stats or what's haps on that? Well, right now I'm focused on the finals, since I'm involved in the commentary for the NBA finals. I want to complete that, and then once that's complete, then I will further my discussion on that topic. Media flow, media vibes. Remember, he has his own podcast, as he's already been doing. The 3-man podcast, I forgot what it's called, but he has his podcast that he's been doing. The finals ends, and I think probably 2 or 3 days later, after the finals, the announcement comes out. 4-year deal with the Lakers. A lot of people think he should have went to the Pistons to get into a rebuilding state with Detroit, give him time to at least get his coaching feet dirty, because he's never been an NBA coach before. He's not been on an NBA sideline in any role other than as a player. I don't know. The only thing that I have my highest concern about with him joining the team or being a coach with the team is that he's not pushed too far to the line to possibly be pushed off the ledge based on taking a position. I understand it. I get it. It's an opportunity. It's a space to get you, elevated, put you in a different space with the game. It can be a content-based opportunity, but if I'm him and I'm taking a good guess on this right now, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to be as media-based as he was before. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, when I say media-based, the podcast won't be as much of a podcast as it was before. And I may be doing this show with no headphones. We'll see. But we're going to worry about that when we get to it. But it becomes very eye-opening when you really think about how he's been put in this position to turn the Lakers around or get the Lakers on a winning path. And the challenge is, if you really look at the Lakers offense, and if you say, hey, let's take AD off, let's take Austin Reeves off, let's take LeBron off, what identity do they have? I'm taking nothing away from D'Angelo Russell, taking nothing away from a lot of their other role players and teammates. Like Jared Vanderbilt, love him, even as a Kentucky guy. But you have to have some involvement with the team on what the next motion is going to be. And if you're going to do anything off season as far as trades or free agency, how's our numbers looking? Can we get anybody? Is Reddick going to sell getting someone to the team? These are all things to think about. So like I said, I know I'm kind of giving like a roundabout discussion about it, but this is kind of the timeline and the observation of what we have with Reddick coming to LA. He's being set up, but we need to see if he's being set up to win or being set up to try to manage a ship that could hit an iceberg at any moment. And it's a very, very, I think the part of this that's not talked about but needs to be looked at and acknowledged is this is a very high profile job. This isn't Portland. This isn't New Orleans. This isn't Washington. This isn't Houston. This is a very high profile team. Like, when you think of the Knicks, when you think of the Lakers, whoever is the successor to Popovich is going to be in a very rough space with getting that team. Mike Brown's been holding it down with the Kings because the Kings have been winning. They've been going to the playoffs, and they've exceeded expectations each year. Reddick's first year is going to have such a huge target behind it. I'm not comparing him to it, but it's looking and showing as similar to what Steve Nash went through, where he left the league. A couple years later, opportunity comes. He coaches Brooklyn. Brooklyn may have given a year, give or take, and then it's, okay, look, it's not working. Brooklyn is a high-profile team, but not only were they a high-profile team, you also had high-profile athletes, as in Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. And you were having to deal with the backlash of the possibility of who may want to leave tomorrow, which eventually, what makes it so bad about it now is like all of those guys are gone. And we don't even know if Ben Simmons is going to play next year. So all things to think about on various levels, but I think the bigger element or the bigger piece of the puzzle is going to be how Reddick handles, one, his personal media and content, but two, how he handles the media, and how will the friendship transition into a work relationship, not on a podcast level, but on a basketball level to win. Because let's call it what it is. LeBron would like to get a 5th ring, possibly a 6th. But if LA is not being built or being put in a place to do that, it makes it a very, in my opinion, it makes it a very tough sell on getting someone to coach or manage that team. And again, I could be 100% wrong. He might come in and open up shop and hold it down like nobody's business. But it's a very, 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 very tall order that the Lakers are asking of from him with that organization. And I think the part of it that sticks out the most about the whole thing, and I'll say this and then we'll go into the finals breakdown, is the claims are saying, or the story is, that he didn't have any involvement with the hiring of a new coach. I'm a call cap. I think he had some leverage there, whether it's said or not said. He did mention that he wants to help Anthony Davis elevate his game. As the age-old saying goes, seeing is believing. The toughest part with LA is the lack of depth with their bench, but also having someone that can run or manage the second unit. Because your first unit is going to be what it's going to be. You can run ball screen all day with AD and LeBron, but after they're either in foul trouble or fighting through health or just long-term season concerns, who's next up? So things to think about on that level to look at for this upcoming season. I will give you all grace this week. We will have no conversation on the WNBA. Well, before I say that we're not, but then I just realized they did announce the first wave for the ballots for the All-Star game. The All-Star game is going to be different this year because since it's the year of the Olympics, there will be the top 12 players who will be selected. They will select, like, I believe it's 5 will get in, and then the remainder will be based on, who's leading in votes overall. And then they'll remove likely anyone who hasn't. If it's players who are getting nods to play in the All-Star game but are on the women's basketball team, they're going to play on the women's USA basketball team. So, for instance, I think Aja Wilson was like either second or third. She will likely be, someone will be replacing her position. Same with Kelsey Plum. I think Chelsea Gray. Right now, there's like 4 players, I think, that are in the top 10 that are going to likely have their slides taken. But I think I say all of that because
Interestingly enough, Caitlin Clark's number one, which I think is great. I think the conversation with the WNBA gets very interesting whenever people talk about it. But I think what makes it more eye-opening, because I've kind of gone into this rant, but I won't go back down this rabbit hole again, is that more people are talking about the WNBA, but a lot of people don't watch basketball or they haven't played basketball. So when you have these conversations, it gets a little different and a little more interesting when you really break it all down. So it's just things that I'm thinking about or have looked at with all of this occurring. I want to say, and I'll probably be hearing about it, or we'll probably be chopping it up about it on our next in-person workout. But I believe I told my trainer that the series was going to end in 5, and it was going to be Boston. I don't know. It's not me being like a magician or a scientist, like, oh, I saw it coming. It's just how they were playing, how game 1 looked, how game 2 looked. Even with Boston losing game 4, it definitely was showing Boston in 5. There was a lot of love-hate relationship about this year's finals. I'm going to be the person to say it. So if you've already thought it, don't blame me for what I'm about to say. This year's finals was very underwhelming. And it was only underwhelming because before we got to the finals, the teams that we were looking at as being the teams to watch out for all got eliminated. And I'm not talking about we can talk about some teams on the East. On the East, Milwaukee got upset the first round. Talk about irony. We ain't heard nothing about Doc Rivers' name coming up as being on the chopping block. They're going to give him another year. If Milwaukee doesn't do anything to get past the semifinals, then he might be gone. I know I'm projecting a little early, but I'm just speaking on what I've observed and what we've been put in a position to watch. We've already talked about the Lakers enough. Denver being knocked off could have been a call, but not necessarily a call, especially when they played Minnesota. Minnesota was like the strong favorite. Minnesota couldn't finish it against Dallas. OKC, everybody had like very high hopes for OKC. I think youth became the eye-opening of a big factor with Oklahoma City. Because you have Shai, and then we're like, okay, well, who else is gonna add to the madness? And there wasn't really a second person that was really that guy that was ready to get in there and get it going. A gentleman I follow named Kofi he's on TikTok and on YouTube. I saw a video he did on YouTube talking about the finals. And he made a lot of statements that I can 100% resonate with. One of them being that if you really break down and look at the Boston roster, just the starting 5, all 5 guys can, no pun intended, can handle the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. They're not all, you're not going to look at them and say, oh, they're all defensive players. But they're all able to fulfill their role on the offense and on the defensive end. They utilize a very resourceful amount of help defense with Dallas. And I was very adamant about this with the series. And I don't know if I put this on Jason Kidd. I don't know if I put this on just the team itself. Josh Green and Tim Hardaway did not do much. And they're 2 guys that were very key to the run, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I thought they were key to the run. There wasn't much bench depth made aware in this series. And if it was, you really didn't hear about it because they just weren't doing it. I don't know what went on. Like I said, it was a tough sell for this year's finals. There was such a huge there was this huge notion of this huge narrative that got painted of, oh, Jason Tatum walked into the finals like the 76ers didn't have Embiid, the Knicks didn't have Julius Randle. And I know these are things that I've talked about already, but it became more evident when they won the finals. And also, let's give him his flowers, like Jaylen Brown. Definitely, there was a switch that hit for Jaylen Brown, and it hit in two instances. And I'm going to share this, and I'm not going, like I said, I don't want to harp on this story too long. But the first instance with him was following the All-Star break, Jaylen Brown turned it on. The second part of it, and the bigger part that's not really being addressed or being looked at, but should be looked at, is him not making All-NBA made him play at a higher level as well. Because if you really look at the team, you can't look at them and not say that he was not as complimentary to Jason Tatum as Tatum is to Brown. They're in a unique predicament because they kind of have similar styles of basketball, but they also get the job done at different levels. Like, I have to remember sometimes that Jason Tatum is like 6'8". So he's somewhat in the 3-4 conversation at times, depending on who they're playing. I might have some crow to eat for this, but I'm going to eat it, and I'm just going to live with it because I know I was super duper on the ledge and super duper strong with the Luka decorum of like Luka should have been fine, should have been MVP. Luka should have been MVP. Luka always gets left off the MVP conversation. Luka got to stop whining. Bottom line, and I know the MVP is based on regular season, so I don't want anybody to come for me on that level. But I will say, finals wise, Luka did not. There were opportunities that I think Luka could have shown us how to make the team work and not go for the dreaded grenade assists. Because pushing a pass to someone else to have the play not be on you, it's going to be very noticeable when there isn't much of an identity for their team. Also, another player who needs to get credit for Boston is Derek White. If we really want to take it a step further, we should give the executive praise to Brad Stevens. Because Brad Stevens, not long ago, literally coached this team and then decided, you know what, the coaching thing ain't for me. Let me move up to the box. He moves up to the box. He gets the other cat that's in Houston. He's been over in Houston and quiet as a church mouse. You've heard nothing go on, nothing, because he learned. He's like, bro, I'm here to coach and do my job. Mazzulla comes in. I still remember, not Sage Steele, the analyst on ESPN literally like giving Mazzulla the hardest time about his something that happened to him at West Virginia. And Sage, I'm sorry, you're not catching it straight from it. I just made a general statement, so not coming for you at all. Want to be clear. But they attack this man's character, what he went through on a personal level. He gets the team to the finals. True, they lost to Golden State. They get back to the conference finals the following year. Miami loses to Denver, which That series, we kind of saw what that was going to be. Nothing in that series was surprising at all, just to be clear. And then here it is now, a year later, you get back to the finals. Like their finals walk, I think they ended up playing Indiana in the conference finals. Indiana did not have the manpower to compete with Boston. And here it is now, you have the better team winning. Now, we'll say, and I'll go back and check, but if I did mention or if I was on record saying that it was going to be Dallas, I'll take that L. But in hindsight and just sheer and raw observation, what we saw is what we got. And what we saw and what we got was Boston playing at a fluid, consistent basis of basketball. If Kristaps Porzingis played game 4, they would have got swept. Him playing game 5 just made it like, okay, it's in Boston. He's going to play. He was playing injured. You could hear it. You could see it. But he was going to get a championship. And my favorite thing about that whole series, and I'll give this and then we'll move on, is every year whenever a team wins the finals, we always in the sports group share, hey, this is these are the players who won the championship for the first time. I literally took a screenshot of the entire Boston Celtics roster and scratched out Drew Holiday because he was the only one who had already won a championship. And this part too. I understand everyone wants to give Tatum such a hard time about a lot of what he was saying wasn't original, but one thing he can say that a lot of people may have mocked him on is he has a championship. A lot of them don't. And the dude he had a great season. Like, he's been having good seasons for quite a while. I think this year was just that opportunity of, hey, if you're going to get it, you got to get it now, and you got to get it while it's hot. You got to rock with this fit. You got to rock with this grease while it's still cooking. Because if you don't, they're going to come back and they're going to attack and they're going to come in full force. And we saw it in full force. So that's what I have for that. I gave y'all 30 minutes, almost 40 minutes of sports content. That's pretty much all I got. Everything else will be very tech-oriented, but there are some things that I really want to address because they're near and dear, especially with them all happening like very recent. Last week, Apple did their dub, they used to call it, but this year it was the traditional WWDC for 2024. Ironically, we were working from home. No, I'm sorry. I was working in the office, and mid work, we got a notice like, oh, they're not, it's not going to be many people. Everyone gets the opportunity to work from home the rest of the day, or you can take the option. So as I'm like noticing this, I was like, oh shoot, I need to make a move and get in so I can see what's going on for the Apple keynote. Now, Android fanboys had a field day with this keynote because Apple finally brought a lot of minor yet major technicalities that people have been waiting for to their device. They finally have scheduled texting, which I've been waiting for that for a while. They have the emojis. You can, when you react to someone's message, you're no longer getting just the standard 6 reactions. You can use just about any reaction that you would like. And they're also color-based. So you're not put in that position of just looking at the generic question mark or laughing, haha, whatever. They brought forward how Spotlight Search is going to be a little better at understanding natural language. Let's see. iOS cracks down on apps asking for full address book access. They're going to now be added. So they added in like more of a 2-step permission, which I've seen more of that coming up more frequently between passkey. They're trying to push passkey a little bit more. I've noticed in a couple of the iOS 17s. And let's see, Bryan has the rights about consistently use a certain feature if you're down. Oh, man, I didn't even realize I might not have saw when they talked about it during the iOS during the watch update, but now they're adding it so that you can have your activity rings take a pause. If you're down due to a cold or an international flight, or find that you're vigorously shaking your wrist at 9 p.m. just to finish closing your rings, you can now pause progress via the watch or through the connected iPhone app. Let's see. They're starting, and I don't want this to be the weight of this conversation, but I'm going to share it because we're here. It's going to be a topic. We can't dodge it. Apple is getting into the AI dance with Apple Intelligence, and a lot of people aren't sure how to feel about it, when in reality it's gonna be them. Everything with AI in its usage currently is all going to be trial and error. I don't care how you look at it, how you want to slice it, how you want to dice it, how you feel about it, how you don't feel about it. It's all going to be trial and error. There's no funny way to look at it. We're finally going to have the support of RCS. They've been pushing the RCS battle back and forth, and I think Apple finally caved in, which only made sense because how messages are sent has been like the weirdest battle without being a battle. I personally believe iMessage will still be a thing. Like I said, they delivered two of the biggest features. So then I mentioned this earlier. Apple delivered two of the biggest features, iMessage and its Messages app that consumers were waiting for a long time. The ability to schedule messages to send at a later date and time, and support for RCS. The next gen messaging standard and replacement for SMS that will make texting with Android folks much less painful. Is it the end of the green bubbles? And they got a separate article, which I'm not even going to go into. These updates will be compatible with, if you have, I'm going to assume if you have at least the 12 or higher, maybe the 11, from the iPhone aspect. And iPads, you're looking at least, if you at least have gotten a 2018 or 2019 model, like I'd say in the last 5 years, you should still be able to get updates. Like I said, I'm not too pressed about the Apple Intelligence yet, because a lot of it's going to come down to, hey, let's see it first and then see how it works or what comes together, and kind of make it a thing. So we'll see how that all pans out. They're looking to make Siri more user friendly. They're adding in a passwords app. I thought this was annoying, but of course it was a jab in the face, and folks ate this up easily. They was like, we finally added calculator for iPad. Even though most people who have an iPad didn't even think to use calculator to begin with. I don't think calculator was like a big selling point for the iPad. Just my personal take. Like, I'm not going to hold an iPad, a large, and I'm saying this with an honest face. I don't see me holding a 13-inch iPad to use as a calculator. There, that's the end of that. Just want to get that all on the table before we sound crazy. They did share the new change for Mac OS Sequoia, which ironically, I just realized, and I was thinking about this before the show started. So on my desktop, because I have a newer Mac that I recently got last year, and I had not set up any widgets. So now I'm starting to use widgets so I can see simple things such as the battery life on my keyboard, my earbuds, battery life, things that I use like the temperature, what my day looks like. And it's funny because I scheduled my time to do the podcast today, but I didn't put it on my calendar. But 9 times out of 10, that would have been listed for now, since it was from 12 to 2, even though we started a little early, but we're not going to talk about that. The satellite messaging thing is kind of like, okay, they're doing more breakdowns with photos, tap to cash. A lot of people are really concerned about that because they're like, we're not sure if folks are just going to randomly be trying to send themselves money. They gave us a look into some new adjustments, some gestures for Vision OS 2. I still think Vision is still in its like infancy stage. We need to let it build up a little bit, build up in usage and build down in price. Non-Apple related, but part of the Beats family. They did bring out some, I guess you can call them Beats Buds. They're like a step below the Studio Buds, because the Studio Buds are wireless Bluetooth, can connect to multiple devices, but the case functions as an actual charger. Whereas with this particular pair, these are just, they're buds that sit in a case. The case is able to be charged, but the case doesn't charge the earbuds when they're not in use. So like all of the other earbuds products that Apple has, I may make that my cover art. I'll see. I'll think about it. Wait, wrong screen. That's right. You cannot mark. Oh, lesson learned. You do not have the ability to charge. Like if they're low on charge, you have to actually have a source to be able to charge them. Thankfully, USB-C. I think the only accessories that Apple, like earbuds wise, that's using Lightning are the. Epiphany without being an epiphany. So the AirPods Pro Max, which are the headphones, the old school AirPods that are USB, the AirPods Pro that are USB Lightning, the Power Beats, which are still on their website, those are Lightning. I think that's it, because the Beats X, or I think they're not even X anymore. I think they're like Beats Flex or something like that. The Flex Beats or Buds, those use USB-C. It's so crazy because of the different amount of earbuds that I have. Like I will still keep a pair of Flex Buds available just because they can do what I need them to do, which is, hey, let me throw something in real quick that's going to play some music. And if they get low, I can charge them up and get a nice bit of time off of them. But I had the epiphany that I was having, or referring to, is that the AirPods Pro Max will have to come out with a second version soon, because they need to have them. They're going to have to fall in line with their USB-C compatibility process. And they also don't want to lose money on the whole Lightning and USB-C thing, which also random, but not random, but relevant in a sense. If you are in need, and I always like, this is a tech tidbit without being a tech tidbit. If you are looking to get a charger that you can carry on your keys, there are different sites that have them. I went to Target. I paid a pretty hefty amount, but I paid the price only because the cable that I got it's a small cable, but it can charge up to 100 watts. But it's by the brand In Charge. I'll try to remember to listen for that, and I'll share that link as well. But it's good to have, because the cord itself is able to be charged with, like if I needed, let's say the whole, like earlier I was having the whole like, oh shoot, I don't have like a cable for my interface to use my mic to record the show. And I was like, hold on, I got the actual, like I could have used the one off of my keychain and it would have worked just fine. But I had like another cable somewhere in my bag. So win-win there as well. But yeah, the link will be in the show notes for everything that was talked about during the keynote for WWDC. I'm going to do something a little unorthodox, but I'm going to do this on air because y'all know we family. So a few weeks ago, I did a show talking about the Clicks keyboard and how it's a innovative style to allow you to text, kind of in what's considered as the new school style of texting. Oh, I'm sorry, the old school style of texting. Give me a second. Hey. Oh, Tech 101 just got me. I was sitting here talking for a good minute. No, but what I just said was, and I'll, of course, y'all know I'm going to clean it up. Y'all not going to notice it on y'all end. But in the thick of things, I've been able to, so I've had some stuff that I was trying to work on, getting some little minor maintenance done here, but we're back to it. And I'm only saying that because there was an accessory that I just mentioned that I recently had picked up, and I was like, oh, let's see how this accessory works. I want to check it out, see if it's, all the hype that it's claiming to be, whether it's worth the money. Should you buy it? Will it be of any benefit? And it is called the Clicks. So this is a keyboard. If any of you remember the BlackBerry, my personal favorite, my OGs know about the G1. It was integrated with a keyboard. If you really want to go technical, you could almost look at like the Sidekick. Take those styles, but you're now bringing it to the iPhone or to the smartphone family. And what it does is it's giving your screen more real estate. So now I'm able to, if I wanted to look at stuff on my phone, I can focus on what I'm looking at on my phone, and then I can just type down here at whatever I need to type. It arrived a few days ago, and I will be the first to admit that it's a learning curve, but not a bad learning curve. There are some updates and some features that you can change. I'm not going to mess with too much of it now, only because, one, my phone is currently bricked for close to 40 hours. By the way, if you are looking to get the brick accessory, it's available for iOS, possibly coming soon to Android. There are some updates that will be coming for that soon. They did announce. And if you want to use the code Bryan Brick, link is in the show notes. Get 10% off. Definitely supports me, and it also supports you and saves you a little money. So, but I'm saying all that because the actual app for, like, when you purchase it, they have a app called Clicks that you can change or modify settings specifically for the keyboard, such as if you want to have the backlight display on for a certain period of time. The charger for the case, like the case has its own charging ability where when you put your phone into the case to hold for the keyboard doesn't consume a massive amount of battery from the phone. But also, if you need to charge the actual phone, you can still keep it in the case and charge through the phone like you would charge any other accessories, and it works just fine. like I said, it's a learning curve to use. The biggest drawback that I've found with using it so far, and it's not really even a drawback, it's just kind of the reality, is that it makes the phone a lot bigger to hold. And when I say hold, I mean as if I were putting this in my pocket, it would literally be noticeable that I have it in my pocket. Like I wouldn't be able to sit with having it in my back pocket in this particular case. It is good to have with you. Like it's good to have the case with you and use it for the phone. They have it for the iPhone 15 models as well as the iPhone 14 models. I believe it's for the Pro and Pro Max currently. Someone asked this, or we had talked about this offline in discussions about like the different color options. And I'm not addressing this for them, but this is something when it comes to like new founders. And ironically, before I go further, the case that they sent me was one of the Founders Edition models, which I was pretty excited about too, because I know whenever you're bringing out a product, and normally anyone that knows me knows I normally don't do first wave of products. I let the product go through its phase, work itself out. If it works, great, cool. If not, give it some time. And then once it's like at a good stable point, then I will like really give it attention. But I got the first one. And like I said, it works great. It does, it functions in keyboard shortcut lingo, just like your, if you were using a laptop or if you were using your iPad or whatever, or any other Apple devices. So if you highlight something, you can hit Command C on the keyboard and it will copy. And if you go somewhere else and paste it, it pastes just fine. Like all of those things work like a functioning keyboard. The size of it is, I guess, the big factor, but it's not a detrimental factor that doesn't make it a functioning keyboard. I will say this, and this is something that may not be a factor to you, but will be something to really consider or think of. If you are not very well versed with using the keyboard in general, like knowing where the keys are, it will become an adjustment to use it if you're not a typist to that level. First and foremost, always know I'm going to stand up for this. Texting and driving is an absolute no-no. In the times of us doing it when we know we were not supposed to do it, texting with this type of keyboard on this type of device is not a good option, or would not have been a good option before. With other keyboards, you had it where it was very like multitaskish, where you could send something real quick and go and you're fine. Otherwise, especially, and on this keyboard, it does have this feature. So if you need to send something to somebody real quick, you can, or not even, it doesn't even have to be sending something to somebody. It could be, if you want a message to be said, I could hit the microphone and say, "Yes, sir, we definitely need to blink up," and go from there. So, it literally, like everything other than it was one of the words messed up, but it has room to be fixable and manageable, but it does its job. It's little things that I look at as being like my winning or losing formula. So for instance, with this keyboard, you want to have it set to the default. Now, I'm going to preface this with a little bit of tech and make you all aware. If you're using third-party keyboards other than the swipe keyboard that's the default keyboard, the functions that are built in with clicks will not work properly. For example, if you start a new sentence, when you're using, so I normally use Gboard. Anyone who knows me knows I love the Google keyboard. I've loved it for quite some time. The Google keyboard functions as, when it starts new sentences, it will automatically capitalize based on that keyboard being used. When you connect the clicks keyboard, it's expecting the default swipe keyboard that comes, the factory version of the keyboard to be used, which means if you're typing a message to someone, as soon as you start a new sentence, it will automatically capitalize. It knows how to adjust what you're saying if you make any errors. It has a very good handle on the editing elements in that regard. That's something to remember or keep in mind with purchasing this particular phone case accessory. Also charging, I want to talk, I mentioned charging for the port. MagSafe, I would 5 million % not recommend MagSafe charging with this case. Even if you were to add a ring to the back, even if you were to do any modifications, I would not waste time to go down that road. It's better for you to just do the traditional cable plug into the wall and set it somewhere to charge. It's going, like I said, the charging is going to benefit the phone more. It's not going to really need, the case doesn't need charging. It's not like, oh, the case is low, it's not going to work. The case is going to work on the basis of your phone working, and it doesn't use a massive amount. The keyboard does have a backlit display, so that's a big plus if you're typing at night and sending messages off, things of that sort. Or if you're in a dark area and you need to like send a message out, it's good on that level. From the novelty aspect, it's cool. It's a good thing. If you were to put me in a room, have me use this keyboard for a couple of days, I would give it about a 7.5. And it's not like the 2.5 that's being pulled away is like, oh, it has room for these. It's just the novelty benefit of it is great. The size of it makes it a challenge. The shortcuts are your best friend. If you're not the most tech savvy person, it can be challenging. The typing something, and this is something that a lot of people said online, and I can attest to this as well. Your typing speed will be battled because if you're accustomed to swiping on keyboards, you get a pretty good flow with typing or swiping your messages out. Whereas if you're using a full keyboard, it's a little different. Typing on a physical keyboard whether it's an iPad, whether it's for a MacBook or for any Windows computer, does not matter. Any of your traditional keyboards, it's going to type and do what it's supposed to do just fine. On a smaller interface of that similar keyboard, it becomes a much more challenging process to type versus if you're swiping and sending messages. But if the messages you need to send aren't in like this urgent place of like, I got to send this right now and it's not in you'll get your money's worth out of it. It is a bit on the pricey side. I will say that. That's also something that plays into my ranking. I mean, my rating, but I don't regret the purchase. I personally will be using it more often. Like I say, using it today probably brings it some more attention towards me using it. I kind of made a rush decision because I was like, I just want to get a case and then kind of do a deep dive with it. I got the Bumblebee, I guess, like I said, it's the Founders Edition Bumblebee Yellow. I probably got the gray. My personal concern is, and it's one of those things that's like I'm real particular about, is fingerprints, or just if it gets dirty, like how does, is it a screen? Is it a case that's likely to get dirty? So for instance, people who use clear cases, if your case is in your pocket or is just not like out and about on a regular basis, those cases are known to get very dirty very quick. And it's a proven fact. So that is the breakdown I have of it. Like I said, I may give me some time. I may come back and may have more of an in-depth analysis or in-depth breakdown about the keyboard. A few more talks and we're going to wrap this one up. And I got one on here and I put it in a weird spot, but I'm going to talk about this now because it should not burn my nerves as much as it does, but somehow it does. And that is people who don't understand how to use a Blue Yeti microphone. When you purchase a Yeti in general, they give you this image that makes it clear to you how to use a Yeti microphone. I'm using the Rodecaster, the Rode Pod mic. And the way the pod mic is set up is I'm talking to the top of the microphone, literally, but it's facing me. So I'm able to talk to it in this way. The chords are set up in the same manner with that intention. Sorry if y'all got that extra feedback, but I just want to bring this to you all's attention. I can talk on different sides of the microphone and it gets my voice just fine. It's going to still be at the same level. If I'm too far away from it, you'll hear the voice come down a little bit, but it's still gathering my voice because of the microphone doing its job. It's a all-purpose microphone or a full condensed microphone to get your audio from whatever angle. The Yeti is a very, in my verbiage, an intimate microphone. Now, if you set the Yeti to the right setting to do what most people do, then yes, you can have the microphone be pointing towards you directly and you can talk over it. But the Yeti was designed as a microphone so that you see the Yeti symbol of the microphone, the blue Yeti design on the front of the mic, and you can see the actual front side of the microphone. So you're talking to the front side, not talking to the top of the mic. And people do not understand that. And sometimes when you hear people's audio, you can tell that they may have set the settings up perfectly to get it to work doing it that way, but you're recording, you're making extra work where you don't need to in that regard. So that could be just me being nitpicky or whatever, but it's something that has been an excruciating and annoying thing I've seen with people who are doing podcasts or when they use the Yeti microphone. I'm like, that is not how that microphone should be used. So I just want to share that. We're nearing our halfway year mark, rundown or reflection. I'm going to save this topic because I know I've talked about quite a bit. This is what I'm going to do because y'all know I'm unorthodox. I've shared some of these with some people. I'm going to talk about the 5 a.m. club, and then I'm going to pass the message so I don't get too bogged down with everything that I have on my list. So first and foremost, hi, how are you? I'm kidding. So the 5 a.m. club is a very interesting phrase or term that's heard frequently and often when it comes to the morning routine, the morning productivity madness. Now, let me say this before I go any further with this conversation. I 100% understand that a lot of people are not morning people. And I am not recording this, nor am I saying this with the intent of you becoming a morning person. I'm saying this and I'm sharing these messages to make it clear that it's not just on a studies level. It's not just on I'm saying it because I do it and I think everybody else should do it. I'm saying it because I've found this to work personally for me and those who are looking to. The term gets used very loosely, so I don't want to use the term because everyone else is using it. But if you're really wanting to find that quote unquote hack, I think this is one of those hacks that work. Okay. I've been without listening to the show for like a minute and I'm like, okay, let me get my voice back because I need to sound better. But anyway, the best time of the day to get the most stuff done before other people is 5 a.m. In the RVA works group that I've joined a few years back, one of the guys brought up that he's part of 4 a.m. And I was like, I tried 4 a.m. like a couple times. I would wake up and I'm like, I'm going right back to sleep. This is way too early. My brain is like not even remotely in a position to handle this. There is a book by Robin Sharma called The 5 a.m. Club. I have the digital and the physical copy of the book. I haven't read the book, but in the most simple form, it's you mainly getting your early plan in place for your day. I've used the 5 a.m. Club or the 5 a.m. Flow for doing my morning workout, doing my morning walk, doing my journaling, getting any preparation for my day in tune. And it's really helped in so many words. Now, let me preface this and let me reemphasize. This is not for everyone. Again, and with huge, wholehearted, full reality, a lot of people are not morning people. And that is nothing. People who are morning people are not better than people who aren't morning people. We need to get that out of our brain waves. Like, that should not be a thought process. But sometimes it becomes a thought process and it becomes a waste of a thought process. And I'm going to just leave it at that. But it's a helpful way to get your morning can work towards your day in so many ways. Now, how they explain it in this article, it's a similar flow, but it's still the same kind of observation. You wake up at 5 a.m., do 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of reflection, and 20 minutes of planning or studying, which is defined as move, reflect, and grow. It is a proven neuroscience-based practice and will help you unlock talents, success, and personality traits that you were previously unaware of. And it only takes one glance at the book's 13,700 5-star Amazon reviews to see that an army of fans around the world have reset their lives by resetting their alarm. Yes, the part where your alarm actually goes off in the pitch black and brings you out of a dream where you and Harry Styles are playing Scrabble on a beach in Bali is horrible. But within 10 minutes, you're up and over it. And I've hit that wall, and it's interesting because I'm everyone knows I'm Team Bagby. I love my Bagby brand accessories. Have a Bagby brand alarm clock. Love the alarm clock. The alarm clock plays at a good level, but I needed one that played just a little bit more, but was not too loud to take me out. So I went on. So a friend of mine, she invited me to hang out, stay at her place for a while, and like she's been a little sis. Matter of fact, she was on our episode 400, Anisha. And when I, set up in the room she had me in, it had like this little small alarm clock. And I was like, this is a nice little alarm clock. This is something that this is my perfect vibe of like an alarm clock. So I went online and I'm like, I know this alarm clock still should be in existence and should be available. Home Depot had it in stock. I picked up 2. One of them is still in the box. I may be gifted to somebody. I don't know. I'm looking to see what I'm going to do with it, but I needed something to replace a sharp clock that I gifted to one of my friends. She's been using it. It's been the best thing ever. All power be, and I'm all for it. So I was like, all right, let me try this one and see how it goes. So the alarm clock came in, I think last week. I'm sorry, no, it came in. Actually, matter of fact, it came in on a Sunday, because I think I went out, ran some errands, did some stuff, and when I came home, the box was there with the alarm clocks. So I opened it up. It needed a AA battery. Started using it, and I set it for exactly 5 o'clock. And these last few days, I've gotten up at 5. It hasn't been as much of a hassle or a struggle to get up. And it's really not a big thing outside of the alarm. It's also just the mental aspect of like, okay, I need to get up, put a plan in my day, and staple it and stand behind it. Now, again, the book I have not read, but most of this I've kind of been following and fulfilling. So I do journaling in the morning. I do my writing. I do my affirmations. I do reflect. I try to do some planning where possible. And I do my workouts. Like I'll do typically it's late, as of late it's been going to the track. And I think the track is about to become a thing now, like a regular thing. Like going out there and getting a good 2 miles in has been like game changing. And I didn't realize it until yesterday, which I had a day to kind of just get ahead of it a little bit. And I went out there, was doing like so I normally do the 10-minute walk, the 10-minute run. And when I did the walk, I was like, oh shoot, like based on my pace, it's pretty much give or take about a mile. And when I went to do the second, well, not my 10-minute, my 20-minute, it was a mile. So when I did the second 20, I was like, you know what? I'm here, man. Let's do it. Knock that out. And I was like, I got 2 miles in, no problem. This morning, I did my 3 mile. Again, set. Now, all of this is on the basis of that 5 o'clock wake up. 5 o'clock wake up, I'm up. I think I got to the track this morning a little before 6. And went out there, knocked it on out, and came on back in. The other advantage, especially from that exercising aspect, is you want to get as much as you can done before it gets nice outside. And when I say nice, I mean, like right now where I'm at, it is 95 degrees. I ain't trying to be out in this much longer. Like, I got this next hour, we're rocking with this room, but when I'm out, I want to get to one. I got one stop I'm making, get what I need to get there, maybe get something, grab a quick bite to eat, head on to the house, wind it on down, possibly take a nap, keep it moving. It's knowing how to plan, but planning with purpose and having the intention in place. And that's what the 5 a.m. club has brought to my attention. Now, again, I'm referencing the 5 a.m. club as just I get up at 5 and I get to it. A couple of years ago, I was kicking off at the 6 a.m. club. Like I was doing 6 a.m., getting up, meditation. I had I think I called it rap, where it was or M-rap or something like that, where it was like meditation, affirmation, read, pray. And that was helping. And I had this is a conversation, I know I'm talking about this on the show, and this is like somewhat of the reflection, but like I said, I'm gonna talk about it more in depth on the next show. When you're put in that position to really stop and reflect and think about what you did right or what you were doing well or how you can improve on things, you really find yourself looking in the mirror and looking at like, all right, where am I at with what I'm doing and what should I be doing to get myself in a better position to evolve? And when you learn those things and you keep track of those things, it really, truly makes an impact on your day and on your life. And that's what I'm beginning to see more than anything. Like even, I'll give this story and then I'm gonna close with the pastor message. But right before I was getting ready to come in to do the show, I stopped and got some gas. And while I was there, saw somebody that I used to work with at the hospital. And thinking back, even at that time, like my headspace was so all over the place. I'm still working on my being grounded position now, but even when talking with him for those few minutes, it was like, slow down, relax. You don't need to be at 100 right now. You're doing great. You're okay. And it's so simple that for some people it can be so challenging. And I literally just was like in such a good space to just listen to him and talk and check in. And I was like, and I felt like the bad guy, because I was like, I said, man, because he's like, yeah, you got my number. I was like, I should have it. And I've gone through so many phone swaps and phone whatever. And I saw it. I was like, let me give him the number, text. And I think I could be wrong. Cause I'm trying to think I know I've had this number for a while because I know I got it during COVID. Probably in that midst, because when I switched numbers, I was like, look, I'm not going to do all this porting numbers and making it up. This number is what I got, and I'm rolling with it. And I've stood 10 toes down with the number every step of the way. But I say all that to say, man, it's sometimes you need things to happen for it all to come together. And fingers crossed, because he and I, when we talked, he was saying, and I'm definitely on board with it happening. So hopefully I'll send him this link. And if he hears this part, I definitely want him on the show, because I like to get people on and, like I say all the time, just chop it up about life and talk about the real world, for lack of a better term. Pass the message. Some of you have already heard this on my TikTok. Some of you probably heard this on my Instagram. If you are hearing this for the first time on the podcast, then welcome aboard. But the message I'm going to pass along is simple, very simple, sometimes too simple. Keep going. This is going to come from a very deep place. I may hit the 1.5 hour mark. I don't care. Y'all, you know how I do. But I've been at this health and wellness journey for close to, if not a year and a half. And there have been days, there have been times, there have been moments that I've literally wanted to throw in the towel and just be done. Every time that moment comes up, someone around me reminds me, don't stop, keep going, don't give up. I mentioned it earlier about, because I went out, like I said, I went out there Friday, did the walk, didn't think anything of it, saw somebody there, it was like, he looked familiar, but didn't really put it together. He happened to post something on his page for an event he was doing. I shared it because I'm always, anyone who knows me, even if I'm not online frequently, I'll still share content because it's just in my DNA. So I shared it, didn't think anything of it. Fast forward to this morning, I go back out there, I walk. Me and my back was beefing. It was like East Coast, West Coast. I was like, we are not on the same page. We're not on one accord today. And it happens, but this particular time, it was just, we were not there. So at one point I stopped and he's like, I'm looking at him, he looks at me, I see him, I was like, what's up? He was like, what's going on, BT? I was like, what's up, Bryan? And I spoke to him. Fingers crossed I get him on the show. We'll see. Cause he has a story. I've kept up with his story, especially with finances. Solid brother by far. And as he was finishing up his walk, because I think I still had like maybe another mile, maybe half a mile, I'm not sure. He was like, look, man, just keep at it. I'm out here every day, so if you need somebody to push you, I'm here. I was like, I need all the push I can get right now. And why I'm sharing that is because why the keep going part becomes relevant is normally on Sundays, I'm usually like, okay, I got stuff that I have an event that I'm going to tomorrow for stretching and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. But that won't until like 10 o'clock. So I'm like, if I get up at like 7 or 8, I'm good. I can get up and do all my stuff and then I'll be there in time. I set my alarm is like as soon as I got home for 5 o'clock to get up tomorrow, because I'm gonna go back out there and walk again. I think I'm beginning to value the walks more than I did before. At first, I was doing the walks and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do, like, I would get up, go do the walk, And it was like, all right, I'm walking around the city. Cool. Then I was getting more creative as I would walk because I'm like, all right, I got to do like, when it got up to like 20-minute walks, I'm like, I can't walk this same path. I need to find some areas of like, how do I get around? How do I make it so that once I hit this mark, I can come back in and make it back within that 40-minute window. And even if it's more than that, so be it. But when I would say between the 10K and between the heavy yet not so heavy challenge of, all right, I want you to go and do 2 miles. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna do 2 miles. I went to like a local tennis court, just walked around the tennis court. It's like two tennis courts, but it's a pretty good length. But I was also, matter of fact, and I'm saying it like that, but realistically how I started, I was like walking around the basketball court, just walked around the court. And I mean, it adds up and you can get through it pretty quick. So then I said, you know what? It's time. I've been avoiding it and I've been afraid of it, but it's time. Let me take it up a notch and walk at the track. So I think this week will be week 6. It's either week 5 or week 6 of walking the track. And each week it gets less intimidating. I did a few sprints, a few strides of some running, and that helped out. But all of that being said, I know I'm kind of going on like a story or a tangent, but I kept going. I've kept working at it. I've kept staying, saying, being positive, being productive, not being so hard on myself about it. Because I think what happens is when we look at things and we work on stuff, we're like, well, so-and-so was at this point and I'm not at that point. But it's like, you're at the point you're at for your reason. They're the point they're at for their reason. Is your reason aligned with your purpose? Or are you just doing it because you're trying to meet that person's reason? They are doing it because they know what they're trying to do. You got to do it because it's what you want to do. Once you know and you understand that, then it puts you in a different position to know how to get what you need to get done to get into a better position. So don't stop and don't think people don't know that you're giving it your all. Like even unpacking, that's the one thing with doing these podcasts and get a little tough, but it's not tough, but you get used to it as you keep doing it, is like the reality parts of it. But when I did the 10K, like, sure, I saw my friend, I saw my boy out there. He's my trainer, but he's also my friend, but he's there to see me like, look, do what you do, get it done. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get it done, which I got it done. But before I got to, I don't know if I was on the phone or if I was, what was up? But I saw one of my friends from the Boys and Girls Club, both the guy who was at the track and the young lady that saw me before I got to my space in the race. She talked to me and she was like, good luck, you got this, you're gonna do fine. And I'm like, I know I'm gonna do fine. I'm not really, and it wasn't even like cocky, arrogant. It was just having to do it, man. It was a lot. And it was, and I talked about this already from like a previous episode. Where it hit the hardest was when you start to walk or run and you're seeing like the mile markers. I think it was either when I saw mile marker number 3 or number 5. And I was like, hold on, I actually can get this done. And I can get this done. I could get it done at a better pace with a better mindset. But after finishing that race, even with the time that I got, it gave me a reminder and it gave me the window to understand, like, keep at it, man. So that's what I'm sharing with you all. Like I said, I know I was going to hit an hour and a half, but it happens. And again, if you want to start disconnected from your phone, for my non iPhone folks, join the Bagby movement. I'm telling you, putting your phone in a bag sounds stupid, but it works. It has helped me on so many levels. To my folks that are iPhone, get a Bagby too, but also get the brick your phone. I've got coworkers bricking their phone, and they get mad with me like it's my fault. And I'm like, yo, you trying to not post 100 posts a day, or you're not trying to spend 100 hours a day buying stuff that you don't need to buy. Brick your phone. Like, my purchases have reduced because of the brick. My interactions with a lot of foolishness has decreased because of the brick. So I'm just giving you all that incentive to understand what it's about. But as always, this is the pass. If you're looking to join in, collab, link up, the passbtpod@gmail.com. Also, on the show notes, there is a link that you can text in, leave some feedback. I'm going to check real quick because I don't think I saw any recently. But you can definitely leave feedback on the show. And we can talk about how you feel, or what you shared, or what you had to say while it's doing that, because it looks like it's not going to come up like I need to on my computer. Use my good old keyboard. Because I see if something does come on here, then I want to read it before we close out, and then I'm letting y'all go, because I know everybody. Like I said, I try to keep my shows to a good minimum, and lately I've been doing a pretty good job of that. So I don't want to break that streak up if I can help it. Of course, this don't want to work. That don't want to work. This ain't trying to work. Everything is like, we're going to make sure he can't do what he need to do. But it's all good. All right. Should be that one. Of course. And I think and also while I'm using this keyboard, this is something to share with you all while I'm doing it. The shortcuts can be a little confusing, because if you don't know this keyboard, it will throw you off a little bit. But if you're used to it, then it becomes a lot easier over time. But in its first couple uses, it can be a little overwhelming. So that's something to kind of keep in mind with using this keyboard. But I do, like I said, I like the concept and the ability that it has. Of course, when I need to get into something, I can't get into it. Give me a second. I know. Like, normally I would have been into the show, but okay. Plan last resort, because I normally would not do this on my computer while we live, but whatever. Fan mail. Yeah, still all right. Yeah, send some fan mail in, man. Not for real. But if you're able to, definitely send some fan mail. I do like to get things like that and get interaction, and it draws some good engagement on the show. Also, if you want to throw questions in it, you can use it that way as well. I may ask you a question or address what you share on air. So, something to think about. All right, y'all. Catch y'all later. Peace. Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepassbtpod@gmail.com. And also, the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.